She thought she was just gathering evidence to catch her father's killers, until she realized she had become something far more dangerous than they ever were. David had always been good at reading people. As one of the best lawyers in the city, he could spot a lie from across a courtroom and knew exactly how to break down even the toughest witnesses. His corner office on the 20th floor proved he had made it. The expensive suit, the leather chair, the view of the city skyline, everything showed he was successful. But when his office door opened that Tuesday morning and she walked in, all his confidence vanished in seconds. It was his sister, Anna. 5 long years had passed since he last saw her. 5 years since she disappeared after their family fell apart. 5 years since their father's name became front-page news for all the wrong reasons. Anna looked different, very different. The scared, broken woman who had run away was gone. In her place stood someone who moved with purpose. Her eyes were sharp, calculating. She wore a simple black dress, but something about the way she carried herself made David nervous. "Hello, brother," she said, closing the door behind her. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. David stood up from his desk, unsure whether to hug her or keep his distance. "Anna, what are you doing here?" "After all these years?" She smiled, but it wasn't the warm smile he remembered from their childhood. This smile had edges to it. "I need your help, David. I need you to represent me in court." "Represent you? For what?" Anna walked to his desk and placed a thick envelope on top of his legal papers. The envelope looked old, worn like it had been carried around for a long time. "Before I tell you anything," she said, "you need to know something. Our father didn't die of a heart attack." David felt his stomach drop. Their father had died 3 years ago. The doctors said stress from the scandal had caused his heart to give out. It made sense at the time. The man had lost everything, his reputation, his business, his friends. The shame had been too much. "What do you mean?" David asked, though part of him already feared the answer. Anna sat down in the chair across from his desk. She crossed her legs and looked at him like a chess player studying the board. "I mean, someone killed him, and now they want to kill me too." The words hung in the air like smoke. David sat back down, his mind racing. "Anna, that's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof?" She nodded toward the envelope. "Everything you need is in there. Photos, documents, recordings. 5 years of investigation, David. 5 years of digging into the truth about what really happened to our family." David reached for the envelope but stopped. "Why now? Why come to me after all this time?" "Because I'm out of time," she said simply. "They know I have this information. They know I'm getting close to exposing them. I need someone I can trust, someone with your skills, someone who can help me bring them down legally before they silence me permanently." David's hands shook slightly as he opened the envelope. Inside were dozens of photographs, some taken with hidden cameras, documents that looked official. What he saw made his blood run cold. The photos showed their father meeting with city officials, police commissioners, judges. Money was being exchanged. Papers were being signed. But these weren't just any officials, these were some of the most powerful people in the city. "Dad was involved in this?" David whispered, looking at photo after photo. "Dad was trying to expose this," Anna corrected. "He found out about the corruption and was going to go to the federal authorities. That's why they killed him." David kept looking through the photos. Then he found something that made him stop breathing for a moment. It was a photo of Anna herself, clearly taken without her knowledge. She was walking out of a hotel, and there was a man following her at a distance. "They've been watching you," he said. "They've been watching our whole family for years," Anna replied, "ever since Dad stumbled onto their operation." David looked at his sister with new eyes. The woman sitting across from him had spent 5 years investigating their father's death. 5 years gathering evidence against some of the most dangerous people in the city. 5 years preparing for this moment. "Anna, this is incredibly dangerous. If what you're saying is true, these people have already killed once. What makes you think they won't kill again?" She leaned forward, and for the first time since she entered his office, David saw a flicker of the sister he remembered, but it was mixed with something else, determination that bordered on obsession. "Because I'm not the same person who ran away 5 years ago, David. I'm not the scared little girl who hid when things got tough. I've learned things. I've become someone they didn't expect." As if to prove her point, Anna began to move in ways that seemed strange. She took off her jacket slowly, then removed her watch, then her earrings. Each item was placed carefully on his desk. "What are you doing?" David asked, confused. Anna held up a small electronic device she had removed from her watch. "Listening device," she said calmly. Then she showed him another one from her jacket lining. "Another one?" David's eyes widened. "You were wearing surveillance equipment?" "I've been wearing surveillance equipment for months," she said, continuing to remove small electronic devices from various parts of her clothing and jewelry. "They think they're watching me, but I'm actually controlling what they hear and see." With each device she removed and disabled, Anna's smile grew wider. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had been playing a very long, very dangerous game and was finally ready to reveal their winning move. "Don't even breathe," she said, her voice dropping to almost a whisper as she disabled the last device. Her smile became something that was almost frightening in its confidence. "Because now we can finally talk about what really happened to our family." The office felt different now. Quieter. Like they were finally alone for the first time since she had walked in. David realized he wasn't just looking at his sister anymore. He was looking at someone who had spent 5 years transforming herself into something he didn't recognize. Someone who had turned her pain into a weapon and her fear into a plan. "Who are you?" he whispered. Anna's smile widened. "I'm the person who's going to make them pay for what they did to Dad, and you're going to help me do it." Outside his office window, the city continued its daily rhythm, unaware that in one small room 20 floors above the street, a game was beginning that would shake its foundations. David stared at his sister in the sudden silence of his office. The disabled listening devices sat on his desk like tiny soldiers that had surrendered. Anna looked completely different now, relaxed, confident, almost dangerous. "Start from the beginning," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. "Tell me everything." Anna picked up the envelope and pulled out more photographs that David hadn't seen yet. These were different, darker, more disturbing. 3 years ago, when Dad died, I knew something was wrong," she began. "The heart attack story never made sense to me. Dad was healthy. He went for runs every morning. He ate well. Yes, the scandal stressed him out, but not enough to kill him." She placed a photograph on the desk. It showed their father meeting with a man in an expensive suit outside a restaurant. This was taken 2 days before Dad died. "The man he's talking to is Judge Harrison. Dad went to him because he thought Harrison was clean, someone he could trust with what he had discovered." David recognized the judge. Harrison had been a family friend for years, someone who came to their house for dinner parties back when life was normal. "Dad trusted him," David said. "Dad trusted the wrong person," Anna replied, pulling out another photo. This one showed Judge Harrison shaking hands with a woman David didn't recognize. "That woman is Detective Rodriguez. She's been covering up crimes for the organization Dad discovered." When Dad went to Harrison, Harrison went straight to her. Anna's fingers moved through the photographs like she was telling a story she had memorized. Each image revealed another piece of the puzzle. The organization isn't just corrupt cops and judges, David. It goes much deeper. City contractors, building inspectors, business owners, politicians. They control construction permits, police protection, court decisions. If you want to build something in this city, you pay them. If you want the police to ignore certain activities, you pay them. If you want a court case to go your way, you pay them. David looked at photo after photo. The same faces appeared over and over. People he recognized from the news, from political campaigns, from business sections of newspapers. All of them connected. All of them taking money. All of them part of something much bigger than he had imagined. "How did Dad find out about this?" he asked. Anna's expression darkened. "Remember Dad's construction company? 3 years ago, he bid on a big city contract to build a new community center. His bid was the lowest, his work was the best, but he didn't get the contract. Instead, it went to a company that bid twice as much and had a terrible reputation." David nodded. He remembered his father being angry about losing that contract. Dad started asking questions. He wanted to know why his company kept losing contracts to inferior competitors. He hired a private investigator to look into it. That's when he discovered the system. Companies had to pay bribes to get city contracts. Since Dad refused to pay, his company was blacklisted. Anna pulled out a thick folder of documents. These are Dad's notes from his investigation. Bank records, meeting schedules, recorded conversations. He spent months documenting everything, planning to take it all to the authorities. She placed one more photograph on the desk. This one showed their father walking into a federal building. This was taken the morning he died. Dad was on his way to meet with FBI agents. He was going to hand over everything he had collected, but he never made it to the meeting. David felt sick to his stomach. They killed him to stop him from talking. They poisoned him, Anna said quietly. Made it look like a heart attack. I had his body examined by a private medical examiner after the funeral. Found traces of a drug that causes heart failure. The drug breaks down quickly, so by the time I had him tested, there was barely enough left to detect. The room felt cold despite the afternoon sun streaming through the windows. David looked at his sister and realized she had been carrying this knowledge alone for 3 years. Why didn't you go to the police then? He asked. Anna laughed, but there was no humor in it. Go to which police? Half the force is on their payroll. Go to which FBI office? I didn't know who to trust. For all I knew, they had federal agents working for them too. She pulled out her phone and showed him a recording app. So I decided to become my own investigator. I spent 2 years learning everything I could about surveillance, about evidence collection, about how these organizations work. David watched as she scrolled through dozens of audio files and video clips on her phone. I got a job as a cleaner in the building where Judge Harrison has his private office. For 6 months I had access to his files, his computer, his meetings. I recorded everything. She played a brief audio clip. David could hear Judge Harrison's voice clearly. The problem is taken care of. The old man won't be talking to anyone. David's hands shook as he heard the words. It was proof. Real proof that their father had been murdered. I spent another year following the detective, the contractors, the politicians, learning their patterns, their meeting places, their weaknesses. I became invisible to them. Just another face in the crowd, another service worker they ignored. Anna stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. But 6 months ago, something changed. They started noticing me. Someone saw me in places I shouldn't have been. They started following me, watching me. That's when I knew my time was running out. She turned back to David, and he saw fear in her eyes for the first time since she had walked into his office. 2 weeks ago, someone broke into my apartment. Nothing was stolen, but they left a message on my bathroom mirror. Stop digging or join your father. David felt a chill run down his spine. Anna, you need police protection. From which police? She asked again. David, I need someone who can use this evidence legally. Someone who knows how the court system works. Someone who can present this case in a way that can't be ignored or covered up. She walked back to the desk and gathered all the photographs and documents. I need my brother. The best lawyer in the city. The one person I know I can trust completely. David looked at the evidence spread across his desk. Years of dangerous investigation. Proof of murder. Proof of massive corruption. All gathered by his sister, who had risked her life every day to get justice for their father. What exactly are you asking me to do? He said. Anna smiled that dangerous smile again. I'm asking you to help me bring down the most powerful criminal organization in the city. I'm asking you to help me get justice for Dad. And I'm asking you to help me stay alive long enough to see them all in prison. Outside the window, the city looked the same as it always did. But David now knew that beneath its normal surface, something dark and dangerous was hiding. And his sister had spent 5 years preparing to expose it all. The question was he brave enough to help her? David spent the next 3 days studying every piece of evidence Anna had collected. His office became a war room, with photographs pinned to boards, documents spread across tables, and timeline charts covering the walls. Anna worked alongside him, explaining the details of each piece of evidence. This is incredible work, David said, looking up from a stack of financial records. You've documented everything. Bank transfers, meeting schedules, even recordings of their conversations. How did you learn to do investigation work like this? Anna was sitting on the floor organizing photographs by date. YouTube videos, online courses, library books. When you're motivated by the need for justice, you learn fast. David picked up a recording device. And they never suspected you? The secret is being invisible, Anna explained. People don't really see cleaning staff, delivery workers, or service people. We're background noise to them. I use that to my advantage. She stood up and walked to the window. But I made a mistake 6 months ago. I got too close to Detective Rodriguez. She spotted me at 3 different locations where she was meeting with contacts. That's when they started paying attention. David joined her at the window. The city spread out below them, looking peaceful in the afternoon light. But now he knew better. Somewhere down there, dangerous people were planning their next move. Anna, what you've done is amazing, but it's also incredibly risky. These people have already killed once. They won't hesitate to do it again. Anna nodded. I know, that's why I need your help to end this quickly. We can't give them time to figure out how much evidence I have or where I'm hiding it. David had been thinking about strategy since Anna first showed him the evidence. We need to approach this carefully. If we go to the wrong person, they'll tip off the organization and destroy all the evidence. We need someone we can absolutely trust. I've been thinking about that too, Anna said. There's a federal prosecutor named Rachel Chen. She's new to the city, which means she hasn't been here long enough to be corrupted. She's also got a reputation for taking on difficult cases. David knew about Chen. She had successfully prosecuted several high-profile corruption cases in other cities before transferring here 6 months. Chen would be perfect, he agreed. But we need to present this case in a way that protects you while ensuring they can act on the evidence quickly. Anna turned away from the window and looked at her brother with an expression he couldn't quite read. David, there's something else I need to tell you. Something I haven't mentioned yet. David felt his stomach tighten. What is it? Anna walked back to her pile of documents and pulled out a folder he hadn't seen before. I haven't been working alone. She opened the folder and showed him correspondence with someone using the initials JM. Who is JM? David asked. Someone inside the organization, Anna said quietly. Someone who got tired of what they were doing and decided to help me. David stared at the letters. They contained detailed information about meetings, financial transactions, and future plans. Information that only someone deep inside the organization could have known. Anna, this is dangerous beyond belief. If they find out you have someone on the inside, they won't find out, Anna said confidently. JM and I have been very careful. We only communicate through secure methods and we never meet in person. David read through some of the correspondence. The inside information was incredibly valuable. It showed not just what the organization had done in the past, but what they were planning to do in the future. Look at this, Anna said, pointing to a recent message. They're planning to eliminate 3 city council members who have been asking too many questions about construction contracts. The plan is to frame them for taking bribes and then have them arrested. David's eyes widened. We need to warn them. We will, Anna said. But first we need to make sure our evidence is secure and that we have a solid plan for bringing everything to light. She pulled out her phone and showed him a secured app. I've been uploading copies of everything to multiple secure cloud storage accounts. Even if something happens to the physical evidence, the digital copies will survive. David was impressed by his sister's thoroughness, but he was also worried about her safety. Anna, you've done incredible work, but I think you need to consider going into protective custody while we present this case to the authorities. Anna shook her head firmly. I'm not hiding anymore, David. I've spent 5 years preparing for this moment. I'm not going to run away when we're so close to getting justice for Dad. She walked to the desk where she had been working and picked up a thick binder. Besides, I have one more piece of the puzzle that I haven't shown you yet. She opened the binder and revealed photographs that made David's breath catch in his throat. They showed Judge Harrison meeting with a man David recognized from the news, the mayor of the city. The corruption goes all the way to the top, Anna said. The mayor isn't just aware of the organization, he's the one giving them orders. David sat down heavily in his chair. The scope of what Anna had uncovered was staggering. City officials, police officers, judges, contractors, and now the mayor himself. The organization controlled almost every aspect of how the city operated. How are we going to take on something this big? He asked. Anna smiled, that confident smile that was becoming familiar. The same way David beat Goliath. With precision, timing, and the element of surprise. She pulled out a calendar and showed him dates marked in red. I have been tracking their schedule. Next week, they have a big meeting planned. All the major players will be there. Judge Harrison, Detective Rodriguez, 3 city council members who work for them, the police commissioner, and the mayor. David looked at the calendar. How do you know about this meeting? JM told me about it. They're planning to discuss how to handle the Anna problem. They think I'm just a grieving daughter who might have found 1 or 2 pieces of evidence. They have no idea how much I actually know. Anna leaned back in her chair looking satisfied. They're walking into a trap, David, and they don't even know it. David studied his sister's face. The scared woman who had run away 5 years ago was completely gone. In her place was someone who had learned to think like a strategist. to plan like a general and to fight like a warrior. "What do you need me to do?" he asked. "I need you to contact Prosecutor Chen and arrange a meeting for this weekend. We'll present everything to her and get her team ready to move. Then while they're all sitting in their meeting next week thinking they're safe, federal agents will walk in and arrest every single one of them." Anna stood up and looked out the window again. "Dad died trying to expose these people. I've spent 5 years making sure his death wasn't in vain. Next week we're going to get justice for him and for everyone else they've hurt." David joined her at the window. The city below looked different to him now. Instead of seeing buildings and traffic, he saw a battlefield. And his sister had just explained their battle plan. "Anna," he said softly, "I'm proud of what you've become. Dad would be proud too." She smiled, and for a moment David saw a glimpse of the sister he remembered from their childhood. "We're going to win, David. We're going to make them pay for what they did. And we're going to make sure they never hurt another family like ours." The game was about to begin, and Anna had spent 5 years making sure she would be the one holding all the winning cards. The meeting with Prosecutor Chen went better than David had hoped. She sat in the secured conference room, surrounded by boxes of evidence Anna had collected over 5 years. Her team of federal agents examined photographs, listened to recordings, and reviewed financial documents with growing amazement. "This is the most comprehensive corruption case I've ever seen," Chen said, shaking her head in disbelief. "Miss Anna, what you've accomplished here is extraordinary and incredibly dangerous." Anna sat calmly at the conference table, watching the federal agents work. "I had good motivation, Prosecutor Chen. They killed my father. I wasn't going to let them get away with it." Agent Thompson, Chen's lead investigator, looked up from a stack of bank records. "These financial trails are perfect. We can trace every bribe, every illegal payment, every dirty transaction. This evidence will hold up in any court." David felt a surge of pride watching his sister. 5 years of careful, dangerous work had led to this moment. But something in Anna's expression made him uneasy. She looked too calm, too satisfied, like someone who knew something the rest of them didn't. "There's just one problem," Chen continued. "We need to make sure we can protect you during the investigation and trial. These people have already killed once. They won't hesitate to eliminate witnesses." Anna smiled, that mysterious smile David had seen before. "Actually, Prosecutor Chen, I don't think that will be a problem. You see, there's something I haven't told you yet." David felt his stomach drop. "Anna, what are you talking about?" Anna reached into her briefcase and pulled out another folder. "I told you about JM, my contact inside the organization. What I didn't tell you is that JM and I have been working together on something much bigger than just gathering evidence." She opened the folder and revealed documents that made everyone in the room go silent. They were contracts, business agreements, and financial records that showed Anna's name on them. "Anna," David said slowly, "what are these?" "These are proof that I've been running my own operation for the past 2 years," Anna said calmly. "You see, I realized that just exposing the corruption wouldn't be enough. These people would just rebuild their network somewhere else. I needed to take control of it." Chen leaned forward, her expression serious. "Miss Anna, are you telling us that you've been participating in illegal activities?" Anna laughed softly. "I'm telling you that I've been replacing their illegal activities with my own operations. JM and I have been slowly taking over their territory, their contacts, their revenue streams." David stared at his sister in shock. "Anna, what have you done?" "I've done what needed to be done," Anna replied. "Every bribe they collected, we intercepted. Every dirty deal they made, we took over. Every corrupt official they controlled, we now control." She pulled out her phone and showed them photographs of meetings David had never seen before. Anna was in these photos, sitting across from the same corrupt officials their father had tried to expose. But instead of being a victim, she was clearly the one in control. 6 months ago, when I told you they started watching me, that wasn't entirely true. They started watching me because I was taking their business. JM and I weren't just gathering evidence, we were building our own organization. Agent Thompson looked confused. "But the evidence you gave us proves these people are criminals. Why would you want to take over their operation?" Anna's smile grew wider. "Because the only way to truly destroy a corrupt system is to replace it with something better. I didn't just want to put these people in prison. I wanted to make sure no one like them could ever hurt families like ours again." David felt like he was seeing his sister for the first time. "Anna, you're talking about becoming exactly what Dad died fighting against." No, David, Anna said firmly. I'm talking about becoming what Dad wished he could have been. Someone with enough power to protect innocent people from criminals like Judge Harrison. She pulled out more documents that showed the scope of what she and JM had accomplished. City contracts that were now going to legitimate companies at fair prices. Police protection being provided to neighborhoods that had been ignored. Court cases being decided based on evidence rather than bribes. We've been using their own system against them, Anna explained. But instead of lining our pockets, we've been making sure the money goes where it should go. To schools, to community centers, to programs that help people. Chen looked at the documents with a mixture of admiration and concern. This is vigilante justice, Miss Anna. You've essentially created your own shadow government. I've created a better government, Anna corrected. One that actually serves the people instead of exploiting them. David realized that everything Anna had told him over the past week was only part of the truth. His sister hadn't just been investigating their father's killers, she had been systematically replacing them. The meeting you told me about, David said. The one where they're all supposed to be together? Anna nodded. That meeting is real. But it's not about discussing the Anna problem. It's about them trying to figure out why their organization is falling apart. They don't know that JM and I have been dismantling it from the inside. She looked at Prosecutor Chen. Which brings us to why I really wanted to meet with you. I don't just want to give you evidence to arrest these people. I want to make you an offer. Chen raised her eyebrows. What kind of offer? I want to hand over complete control of the organization to federal oversight, Anna said. Every asset, every contact, every operation. You can use what we've built to make sure corruption like this never happens again in this city. David's mind was spinning. Anna, you're talking about admitting to federal crimes. I'm talking about negotiating immunity in exchange for cooperation and evidence, Anna replied smoothly. JM and I are prepared to testify against everyone in the old organization. In exchange, we want protection and oversight for the new system we've created. Agent Thompson and Prosecutor Chen exchanged looks. This was far more complex than a simple corruption case. Miss Anna, Chen said carefully, what you're describing is unprecedented. You've essentially created a parallel government structure. A better government structure, Anna corrected again. One that actually works for the people. She stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the city below. 5 years ago, I was a scared woman who ran away when things got difficult. But over these 5 years, I learned something important. Sometimes the only way to fight monsters is to become something stronger than they are. She turned back to face the room. The difference is, I never forgot why I was fighting. I never forgot that the goal was justice, not profit. I never forgot that the point was to protect people like my father, not to exploit them. David looked at his sister and realized he was seeing someone completely different from who he thought she was. Anna hadn't just been seeking revenge for their father's death. She had been working to make sure no other families would suffer the way theirs had. So what happens next? David asked. Anna smiled that confident smile. Next, you all decide whether you want to arrest the people who killed my father and corrupted this city, or whether you want to arrest the person who spent 5 years fixing the problems they created. The room fell silent as everyone considered the choice Anna had presented them. Outside the window, the city continued its daily routine, unaware that its entire power structure was about to change forever. Chen finally spoke. We need time to consider this. What you're proposing is justice, Anna finished. What I'm proposing is justice. Real justice. Not just punishment for the guilty, but protection for the innocent. David realized that his sister had spent 5 years playing a game far more complex than anyone had imagined, and now she was asking them all to decide which side of justice they wanted to be on. 3 weeks later, David sat in the same conference room where his world had been turned upside down. The morning newspapers were spread across the table, each one carrying headlines about the biggest corruption scandal in the city's history. Mayor arrested in massive bribery scheme. Judge Harrison charged with murder. Police detective indicted for corruption. Prosecutor. Chen walked into the room carrying a cup of coffee and looking exhausted. She had been working around the clock since Anna's revelation, coordinating with federal agencies and managing the most complex case of her career. How is she doing? David asked. Chen sat down and rubbed her temples. Your sister is probably the most complicated witness I've ever worked with. She's brilliant, she's cooperative, and she's completely unrepentant about what she did. Through the conference room's glass walls, David could see Anna in another room talking with federal agents. She looked calm, confident, almost relaxed, like someone who had finally finished a very long and difficult job. "Have you decided what charges to file against her?" David asked. Chen sighed. "That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Technically, she's guilty of conspiracy, fraud, and operating an illegal organization, but everything she did was aimed at stopping worse crimes and helping the community." She pulled out a thick folder. "Do you want to know the strangest part? In the 2 years since Anna and JM took over the corruption network, crime in the city has gone down by 30%. The school system has gotten more funding than it's received in a decade. 3 new community centers have been built. The police are actually responding to calls in neighborhoods they used to ignore." David shook his head in amazement. She really did make it better. She did, Chen agreed. But she also broke about 50 federal laws doing it. Agent Thompson joined them in the conference room, carrying his own stack of files. "We've finished interviewing JM, he announced. David had been curious about Anna's mysterious partner for weeks. "What did you find out?" Thompson sat down and opened his file. JM is Janet Morrison, a 15-year veteran of the police force. She joined Anna's operation 2 years ago after Detective Rodriguez threatened her family for asking too many questions about evidence tampering. So she was trying to protect her family, David said. "Just like Anna was trying to get justice for hers," Thompson agreed. "Morrison says Anna saved her life and gave her a way to fight back against the corruption that was destroying the police department." Chen looked at the files spread across the table. "We've got 12 corrupt officials in custody, evidence of crimes going back 7 years, and a complete financial trail showing where millions of dollars in bribes ended up. But we also have 2 women who broke the law to stop something even worse." David thought about everything that had happened since Anna walked into his office 3 weeks ago. "What are you going to do?" "We've worked out a deal," Chen said. "Anna and Morrison will plead guilty to conspiracy charges, but receive suspended sentences in exchange for their complete cooperation. They'll also agree to federal oversight of any future community organizations they want to create." Thompson added, "The judge reviewing the case says it's the most unusual plea agreement he's ever seen. 2 criminals who improved the community while committing their crimes." David looked through the glass wall at his sister again. "Does Anna know about the deal?" "We offered it to her this morning," Chen said. "You know what she told us?" David waited. "She said she'd accept the deal on one condition. She wants to make a public statement explaining why she did what she did. She wants people to understand that sometimes you have to break bad laws to protect good people." David wasn't surprised. Anna had never been someone who did things quietly. "When will she make this statement?" he asked. "This afternoon," Thompson said. "There's a press conference scheduled for 3 o'clock. Every major news outlet in the city will be there." David checked his watch. It was already noon. "I should go talk to her before then," Chen nodded. "She's been asking for you." David walked across the hall to the room where Anna was meeting with agents. When he entered, she looked up and smiled. It was the first genuine warm smile he had seen from her since she walked into his office. "Hello, brother," she said, standing up to hug him. For the first time in weeks, David felt like he was talking to his real sister instead of the strategic mastermind she had become. "How are you feeling about all this?" he asked. Anna looked out the window at the city below. "I feel like Dad would be proud. We got justice for him and we made sure his death meant something. Are you ready for the press conference?" Anna laughed. "I've been ready for 5 years. Do you know what I'm going to tell them?" David sat down next to her. "What?" "I'm going to tell them that sometimes the system is so broken that you can't fix it from the inside. Sometimes you have to tear it down and build something better, and sometimes that means good people have to do things that look bad in order to protect innocent people." She picked up a piece of paper from the table. "I'm also going to tell them about Dad, about how he died trying to do the right thing, about how his death taught me that being good isn't enough if you're not also strong enough to fight evil." David read the speech Anna had written. It was powerful, honest, and completely uncompromising. "Are you worried about how people will react?" he asked. Anna shook her head. "I'm not worried about anything anymore, David. I did what I set out to do. I got justice for Dad, I stopped the people who killed him, and I made sure they can never hurt another family like ours." She stood up and walked to the window again. "The best part is the system we built is still working. The community centers are still operating. The schools are still getting their funding. The police are still protecting neighborhoods they used to ignore. David joined her at the window. So what happens next? Anna smiled. Next, I spend a few years under federal supervision, making sure the new system keeps working properly. And then I figure out what other cities might need the same kind of help we gave this one. David stared at his sister. You're planning to do this again? I'm planning to make sure what happened to our family never happens to anyone else, Anna said firmly. Dad died fighting corruption. I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure his fight continues. At 3 o'clock, David stood in the back of a crowded press room, watching his sister address the cameras. She spoke clearly and confidently about everything she had done, everything she had discovered, and everything she planned to do next. 5 years ago, I was a scared woman who ran away from problems, Anna said into the cameras. Today I'm someone who runs toward problems and solves them. My father died trying to protect this city from corruption. I lived to finish what he started. She paused and looked directly into the main camera. To every family who has lost someone to corruption, to every person who has been ignored by the system, to everyone who has ever felt powerless against injustice, remember this. Sometimes the only way to change a broken system is to replace it with something better, and sometimes that means ordinary people have to do extraordinary things. When the press conference ended, Anna walked over to David. So, she said, what did you think? David put his arm around his sister's shoulders. I think Dad would be very proud of the woman you became, and I think this city is lucky to have you protecting it. Anna smiled and looked out at the city through the press room windows. The game isn't over, David, it's just beginning. But now at least we're the ones making the rules. Outside, the city looked the same as it always had, but David knew that beneath its surface everything had changed. His sister had made sure of that. And she was just getting started.